Hey, y'all. Welcome. Listen, each week, our guests this season, they are just dope. I mean, dope by default. They're phenomenal humans. And this week is no different. I hope you are ready to laugh, to enjoy. We are talking this week myths about men. Now, I'm just going to prepare you. Our guest, he is a really good friend of mine, one of the most hilarious people that I know. He is an internationally renowned poet. He is an author. He is a publisher, all the things he's done over 30 city tours all over the globe. And we about to get it popping. You ready, Danny?
Oh, I'm ready and very excited. This is going to be fun.
Yes, it is. Y'all know we love having men on the show, primarily because women cannot, make all these decisions and conclusions about who men are, what they believe, without the actual, insight from a man. It's
straight from the horse's mouth.
Straight from the horse's mouth. Yeah. It doesn't make good sense to have all this insight without hearing it from a man. So without further ado, if you were watching us on the YouTubes, I'm introducing to some, letting others know who he is. Just Mike the Poet. Hey.
Look at God.
Welcome, Mike.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Queen.
We're happy to have you. And we just want to jump right in, okay? Because we want to make sure that we could get as much packed into this episode as possible.
Only go ahead first.
All right. So
we told y'all, prepare yourself.
So there's a lot of ideas and a lot of beliefs around men. We wanted to do this episode because, in our little girl circles and things like that, there's a lot of opinions that fly around men. And I don't think sometimes we give men the opportunity to clarify and to defend themselves, because oftentimes they're being spoken about when they're not there. So we wanted to do this episode to just kind of get a male's perspective on some of the common things that women believe or say or think that may not necessarily be accurate, right?
And I wanted me for that show.
And we thought that you were great. We thought that you would be great because you are a straight shooter. You go say it like it is. So we just want to get your perspective, right? And just as a disclaimer, guys, this is one person's perspective. These are opinions.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes. But it's important just to get a male's perspective on things that a lot of women think. So
all right.
That's what this is. That's why we thought you were great.
Yeah.
So they say that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, right? And oftentimes there's such a breakdown in communication between the two sexes that it can really feel like we are from two different planets. So women typically blame the lack of communication on men. So myth number one, right? Or I think it's a myth, but I want to hear what you think. Is it true that men are poor communicators and don't like to talk?
Okay, false. It's false. In order for this thing to work, we need to be more particular. Okay. Because I think men can communicate well. Have you seen them on basketball courts and football fields? So maybe in relation to expressing emotion or
in romantic relationships, right? In romantic relationships. So we're talking about men and women, if you are a homosexual and you're dating men or all the other verbs and pronouns and all the things. We're talking about romantic relationships in general. Are men the issue with communication usually?
Are men the issue?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, shit, y'all about to get me jammed up. All right, so let me say this. Let's back it up. All right, so we got this notion about how men are from Mars and women are from Venus, right? Yeah, I think that has to do more with upbringing than it does with anything else, right? Because the reason why men are from Mars and women are from Venus is because we raise our sons and our daughters differently. So that's why they ultimately end up on these other planets So you can't really blame the man as much as you can blame his upbringing, right? So men get a pass off the bat, right? Two, if you get all the way to the point of a relationship with this human, whether it be a friendship type or even a romantic type, if you get all the way to the point of love and affection and care for a person, and then you notice that they're not the great communicator, what does that say about the woman who is allowing herself to be courted by this man? Because how did you end up on Mars with a Martian, right? So,
well,
with men 2, women 0, right? So we're keeping score. Now, if we get to this point where you met this man and you got this feelings for him, and now you realize he's a great communicator, it really is more of a testament to your womanhood, which is in this patriarchal sense. It might not be right these days, right? But if women are the nurturers and the lovers and the builders in a home sense, then what does that say about the integrity or the womanhood of the woman who cannot breed communication within her partner, right? So 3-0, game over.
Okay, so this is somehow our fault.
There we go. I see. I mean, I didn't want to just lead with the y'all fault without building like the blocks of evidence, you know. So I'm on my Johnny Cochran right now, free OJ, right?
Okay, so you think that it's not that men are poor communicators, it's that women don't create the environment for them to communicate effectively?
Praise the Lord, or nurture the communication, or understand the plight of the man to the point of meeting you, taking that in consideration. It's like, yo, wait till y'all get all the way into this relationship with this human and then beat them up about not communicating when the nigga didn't communicate the whole time.
That's true. I agree with that.
Praise the Lord.
I agree with that.
Well, I won't necessarily say I agree. Okay. What I will say is it's just like creating a child. It takes 2 parties, right? So if you are, especially if, hold on, I'm gonna have to start it over. Danny, you got to mute because it's sounding bad. And then Mike, can you pull your chair up because it's hard to hear you a little bit.
Oh, I'm talking off my headphones, but I could pull my chair up.
Okay. Well, then just kidding. Then you
all right. Well, I can speak louder.
Yes.
Let me roll my window up so we can get like a booth effect.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So y'all could cut whenever we cut, talking to the producers, cut whenever we cut.
Somebody's talking to the chat. Let's mute ourselves with his sound because it's kind of low.
That was me when you were talking. Okay. All right. So y'all can probably cut at like 6:50 or whenever it is that we cut, and then I'll start over. Okay. I'll count down. Okay. So I am not going to say that I agree completely in that. Just like with making a baby, it takes 2 parties to participate, the same way when it comes to communication. And yes, understanding the plight of the type of man that you're dealing with is something that you do have to take into account. But at some point, the onus has to be on the person who's not willing to communicate. Now, if he doesn't feel safe, if he feels as though you don't allow him to speak, that's something different. And if you care enough about the relationship, then you can do some things for that. But if, let's say, we're 5 years in and we haven't yet figured, or not even 5, let's say we a year in, we've done a whole 365, a whole, revolution around the sun. And we haven't yet figured out how to have communication to each other that's not interrupted by consistent and constant noise, then for me, I blame that on both parties, not just the man and not just the woman. I feel like it's a 2-person type of thing. We both gotta hold that rope. Now I saw your eyes get big there. What was that, sir?
No. I was just going on the ride of your tangent, and I express my emotions visually. So I'm really not good at lying because it's written all over my face. You don't have to say a word.
Okay, so then what went through your mind, since you expressed it visually with, the bulging of your eyes? What went through your mind when I said what I said?
Well, there was a part when you were like, if we're in this thing a whole year, and then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, how could you really be in a situation where you could have a committed relationship that has lasted a whole revolution around the sun, and still deal with one of the foundations of any sort of fruitful relationship, which is positive communication, and still be in that place. I think it really speaks more to maybe not just women, just individuals' ability to deal with mundane or less than. And it might be something that you could attribute to the rest of their life not being at its fullest potential. So it's like I sort of equate it to like a lot of women who struggle in relationships probably also struggle with their own personal happiness, career goals, family structures. So they incorporate this failure or lack of in their relationship because it's just synonymous with everything else in their life. Where people who do vibrate higher, in every other sector of their life, tend to also vibrate higher in romantic relationships. Nah, I'm tripping. That was too much. Maybe I should talk more Howard and less Harvard. Yeah.
No. It's not that. It's not that. It's just like you just read like maybe half our audience, and I don't know. I don't want them to feel attacked.
No, because we want them to buy all my books.
So I wasn't quite ready. But yeah, that is, I want to say, an accurate statement. And just to go back to what you were saying before, and why I said I agree is because I do think that there are a lot of moments where we're not taking any accountability for the situations that we're in. So when a woman is complaining about a man that's not communicating, it's just like, well, I'm like, how did you, like, for real, that I think that is a great question. Like, how did you even get that far? Like, how did you get to a space where now he's your husband, he's the father of your children, he's your life partner? You don't like that. Communication and lack thereof is a very early sign in a relationship. It's one of the first things you discover about somebody. So that's why I said I agree that, it is something that you should take a little bit of accountability for if you're in a relationship with a poor communicator.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think for me too, one of the things, like, communication, yes, it's important for a lot of women, especially women of color, considering our marriage rates are so much lower. And it is unusual, right? Or it's not, unusual for like a Black couple to be together for, a really long time, like years, without tying the knot. Like, is it true that, Black men don't like or believe in marriage? One of the major things as to why, at least in my opinion, you can be in a relationship for so long is because there's this sense of scarcity, right? And I always tell even my daughter, I'm like, when you're ready to date, what I want you to do is I want you to get full of yourself. I want you to explore. I want you to know who you are. I want you to be excited when you go into the dating world, because that energy draws different type of things to you versus feeling as though you were on this time schedule. You have to do this by this date. So you just accept any old thing and any old body. So then do you think that it is true that, especially Black men, like, they don't like or don't believe in marriage?
I don't think there's one, it's like there's so many moving parts as to why there's this big discrepancy with marriage. Obviously, it's because most of us aren't brought up in homes that had marriages. We don't operate in situations and environments that fruit Black love, right? So it's like we don't see it on Black television anymore. We're not in Black churches. We didn't come from Black families. A lot of our peers aren't married. So it's just a melting pot of, and then it's like we're playing catch up with our own selves in terms of like we have like real life problems that maybe some other races do not have because they were born into great education, born into wealth, born into stability. So it's like by the time we're 18, we're still trying to figure out how we're going to survive because we got to leave home. It's like we got real world problems. And unfortunately, marriage isn't high on the list. And then when we talk about aspirations, we try to emulate the lives of the people that we look up to, and most of which are not married, don't perpetuate the idea of marriage, or are in marriages that are, riddled with shame and embarrassment, right? Even like our elite marriages, the Will and Jadas, the Beyonce and Jay's, like all of these hierarchy people, the people who we desire to be with. It's like, damn, either y'all not married, y'all not promoting marriage, or y'all in wild ass marriages that be like, nah, fuck that, So yeah, of course, it's like a melting pot of things. I love Jay-Z. I'm still trying to get my way to the Rock Nation brunch. I hope this doesn't affect that. Will's from Philly. I'm from Philly. Philly support Philly. So it's not a shot at, all of these people individually. But at the same time, it is because these are the people that the media has put in front of Black love, right? I don't know if that's designed. I don't know if that's just by happenstance. It broke my heart when Miguel and his wife called it quits, man. It's like, damn, man, and then, it brought me back to yesterday. Today I'm in Phoenix. Yesterday I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was at the funeral of the eldest member of the family on my mother's side, my Uncle Clarence. My Uncle Clarence is 89 years old, and yesterday he had to bury his wife, whom he was married to for 70 years. 70 years, yes. Oh my goodness. I did not even know that until yesterday when I read the obituary that they were married for 70 years. So I do think it's possible. And obviously yesterday wasn't the day to have like longer conversations with him about love and about marriage. But I'm excited to do that as he heals, because I'm pretty sure there's some value in that. Ultimately, I think that the only path forward for a rise in marriages between African American couples is the reduction of ego, and the reintroduction is the reduction in the reduction in ego and the reintroduction to love in its most simplistic form, away from the beauty, away from the vanity, away from the in spite of sort of thing. Sorry if the changes was a little.
No, that's, yeah, okay.
I'm doing good.
Wow. Yes, you are. I really resonate with that. Resonates with me so much because I was listening to something, I don't remember what, on Instagram, and it was talking about, and I'm just kind of referring to you talking about the societal constructs and the environment and the other things that might be causing this discrepancy, where in I believe it was like the 20s or the 30s, 80 to 85% of Black homes had both parents. And
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Were you okay. 80 to 85%, I believe, of Black homes had two parents that were married. And in the late 60s and 70s, the government went around knocking on people's doors and telling the woman that if you wanted welfare from the government, that you couldn't have a man inside the home. Men migrated, left the home. There was a lot of other things that played into that, as far as like factories closing down in certain major cities and all the things that happened that have this trickle down effect in the Black community of the lack of having both of our parents in the home. We have the war on drugs in the 80s after that. So it's like now the man has been removed from the home. A lot of them are unemployed. They have lost their jobs. The women are the ones that are able to sustain the home without the man through the government, through dependency on the government.
Nah.
Go ahead. Because I'm sure you have something good to add once you forget.
Nah, this is going to be dangerous, but I'm going to say it anyway because this is a safe space with friends, right? And I'm going to pose it as a question with the preface of Vice just making a statement. What would you say if I said that one of the causes for the decline in marriage, especially in African American marriage, is the women's industrialization movement, whereas women maybe not forced as much as desired to be fruitful members of the workforce, which changed their family dynamic, which bred independence, bred self-sustainability, but also bred the possibility of succession above that of a man in terms of working to the point of empowerment. Kind of did his job too good. Now it's like, listen, we got jobs, we got homes, we don't need men, right? So where now it's tricky, right? Because nobody wants to say like, yeah, I'm tiptoeing with being a chauvinist when I say that, but I only say it out of love, right? Like I watched the empowerment of the Black woman also come with to the detriment of the Black man and him losing his footing as the leader, right? It's like, how am I going to lead? How am I going to lead now? Because I'm smarter than you now. I make money now. I can provide for a home between my job and the government. I can take that place, right? Like, is that somewhere in the crux of like Vietnam and the war on drugs? Like, does that have an equal piece in that pizza or no?
So I absolutely think that it does have a place in that conversation. I firmly believe that too much of anything is not good for you. And I say it all the time, but drink too much water and you still die, no matter how good it is for you. I think there is great value in women being more industrious, in, cultivating the minds of a woman, because when you do educate a woman, you educate a nation, simply because we always bring things back to the home. The major issue for me that came into place is the forcing of the man out. That was the issue. Because if you, and I know you want to jump in, but I'm gonna finish this right quick, and then you jump and pounce and do all the things. But there is a world, and I've seen it in relationships, where two equally brilliant souls have learned and figured out through time how to work together, how to support each other, how to build amazing legacies and brilliance in their children, doing so together. But when you force, which is what was done to our communities, and we already had like redlining, we already weren't able to get loans the way other people were able to get loans. Our Black men came back from Vietnam when it was cool to fight next to you and save your life. But then I get back and I can't get a loan, I can't get a house, and I'd be damned if I try and get a job. So now he feels completely emasculated, right? Simply because you got this woman. And honestly, the same thing happened in my marriage. My ex-husband came back from being in the military.
Now you were married.
I was married. He couldn't get a job. And so you have me getting 3 promotions in 1 year, to him not being able to get a job that's paying over $30,000 with a whole ass degree. Ego creeps in, and it becomes very difficult to keep that relationship going.
His ego or yours?
His ego. I never once put money. Money is not, I love money. I like what you could do with money, but money is not a driver for me. It never has been. I am a full on, I like to team me. Teams.
Yes.
I like teams. But go ahead.
Okay, really quick. Maybe not really quick because niggas be having the raps, but now I missed an important part of this, right? Because it's the socioeconomic impact of it. And I also wanted to make a statement how I don't believe, I don't think I mentioned education in terms of that enlightenment that came with the industrial movement, because women, an educated woman is by no means ever a liability in any sort of situation. And I always encourage that, right? But I guess that what happened was it's empowerment turned capitalism, right? So it's like, hey, we're introducing all of these women into the workforce. Now, in a capitalistic society, we realize that we can charge more for everything because now we can base this off of 2 incomes, right? So it's like, now that the man works and the woman works, we can charge double for bread, double for milk, because we don't have that man having to provide for him and his family solely, right? So what that did was that pressed the gas on Black poverty a little, not even a little, a lot, because we're priced out of all of the things that would have come natural, because now they're charging for two. And because we could barely get one good, fair paying wage, now we have to get two in order to just survive, which puts us in poverty. And we both know, well, all of us know that nobody likes being poor. And then being poor financially really has an unfortunate effect on the rest of your life, right? So it's like we don't have money. Now we're arguing, and we're arguing about money, but the arguments about money aren't even our fault. It's capitalism's fault. Yes, we have empowerment and the industrialization of women in this becoming workforce members, but it just catapulted us further into a sort of a depression with our Black male versus Black woman relations. Now we have another moving part of it. So I guess in a nutshell, again, the same things that I said, the reduction of ego, the reintroduction of love, and then that'll take care of it on the interpersonal sense. But I don't think we'll ever truly see like a true rise in Black marriage until it meets us where we are, right? Until we start seeing our elite in healthy and positive relationships, until we see the media that we intake propel and project Black love as this non-vanity, non-rich elite, based on forgiveness sort of thing. Until then, or we reintroduce the Black church in some form, which breeds love and breeds family and breeds community. Until we tackle those macro things, I don't think we'll see like a ridiculous uptick in Black love. Sad to say, but I guess to counter that, you have to realize that what are we even talking about, right? We got to separate love and family as these two different things, because we all know that you can breed life with people without being in romantic long relationships with them, right? But when we talk about marriage as a unique thing as it is, especially with that long marriage, it's not like I say all the time, 80% of women probably want to get married, but only 20% of them are going to achieve it. But that's probably where it is. It's just really unfortunate that I think love and family and union are like introduced to us with no, I guess, statistical stuff. Like, hey, listen, do you know how hard it is to find yourself, then find someone that your spirit agrees with, and then to last longer than a couple of seasons? Like, that's OD. So I think once we realize that how special marriage is and how unique it is to find a partner that you can build with in life, maybe so many people wouldn't be hung up about not achieving it, because it's really truly a miracle, vice a right, or a necessity in life.
That was so powerful. You said so many things. The part that I want to kind of dissect from that, when you're talking about the examples that we have of the, in the Black community of Black love, the Jay-Z, Beyonce, the Will and Jade, and all the things. And within those marriages, they both have been riddled with infidelity claims and allegations and things like that. So there is this perception, even when you watch movies that are with Black casts and things like that, the man is always cheating. At some point, he gonna cheat, and she gotta forgive, and they gotta move through it. And you also spoke about relationships that are based on having to forgive and things like that. And so another myth or another thing that comes up a lot is, especially Black women feel like all men cheat, especially Black men. What are your thoughts around that? And I know it ties a lot into everything else that you just said, but I just want to dissect that specific part, because that cheating and the perpetuation and the vision, just always this idea, and in hip hop music, like I said, on TV and movies and everything, there's just this idea that Black men are incapable of not cheating on their women.
Yes, this is me shaking the room. All right, so another unpopular opinion. Okay. Well, first, let me preface this by saying I have been in 9 relationships, 9 serious relationships. The first of which being when I was 18, the most recent one when I was 35. So 9 relationships in the course of 18 years. And I did cheat on one woman one time, and I broke up with her about 48 hours after because of the guilt. And I did express that I cheated, but I felt like it was the right thing to do because I could not live with the guilt and the shame, as well as the act of cheating made me realize that obviously this person wasn't for me, because it made me do that. But otherwise, I've been stand up in terms of cheating as it relates to penetration with the female, another woman. I can't say female. So um, uh, I start with the unpopular opinion first. All right. Maybe it's because shit, I don't know if I want to say that. Like, niggas got balls, but I just big.
Nah, go ahead. You ready?
Well, no. Let me say. Yeah,
but I will say nobody can make you cheat. You made a decision.
Yes, the fuck they can, bro.
No.
Temptation. You know, what do you mean? That's how we got here in the first place. A damn snake. It wasn't even a bad chick that got Adam to bite the apple, bro. It was a snake, bro. It was a snake. Now, we're not even talking about, like, you know, a fire woman, right? So could you imagine a life where a man is just living his life, promoting his queen, being a great boyfriend, partner, husband, fiance that he is, and next thing you know, you have a woman who is just enamored by the fact that you treat your woman so beautifully that I want to fuck you too, because go you for being a good guy. Like, you know, it's like, yes, I know your girlfriend. I speak to her outside, and I loved all the bags and the shoes that you buy her. I like all of the things that you do. And it just turns me on so much that I want to fuck you too. But we don't ever take that into consideration. Like, you know, or like, hey, I'm married, but the shit is not working out. So would you like to ride around in my Rolls Royce to help me heal? Okay. They said they're going through things, or he living with his baby mom, but they not together. They just doing it for the family. Get the fuck out of here. I think that needs to be introduced in this whole men cheat. I mean, because to keep it 100, the woman that I told I was in a relationship with, she was still down. So maybe there needs to be like a staff meeting amongst Black women. It's like, yo, protect our Black love. My nigga, we should wear shirts, right? Like, listen, this is my nigga. Do not fuck him, even though I get on his nerves, okay? Yes, he treats me good, but the nigga's weak. So don't play with him like that, because you're fire as fuck and you don't want, you know what I'm saying? Like, can that be a part of, because we can talk about all the things about how lack of communication plays a part in it, lack of sexual, you know, the least sex I've had with the woman, I mean, well, okay, I gotta say it a better way. I feel like the sex declines the longer the relationship goes, right?
Yes, but that's
and then it's like, you know, and then it's like, and then it becomes like, you know what? I don't even gotta fuck my nigga no more because he's my nigga, or yeah, I've been with this nigga so long I don't even feel like fucking him. You know, it's like you know, complacency. I mean, familiarity doesn't breed gratitude; it breeds contempt. You know, I'm just trying to stand up for my guys, you know, because it ain't always our fault. It ain't our fault, bro. And then you also, here, one more thing, you have to understand. Sorry. You have to understand that sometimes that connection between a man's brain, heart, and his penis is different than the connection between a woman's brain and her heart and her vagina. To where a man could do something as to you as cataclysmic, as monumental as sex, right? It's the hugest thing. But for him, it's like, man, like, I could love my girl to death. She could break up with me and I would cry like a bitch, right? But I could also fuck this girl and it will not have any bearing on the amount of love or respect or reverence I have towards my woman. And you know, a lot of times women just can't relate. But I've been in situations where it's like, yo, I love the shit out of my girl. I would Lenny Williams every night if she ever leaves, right? But I could also, with the same human could also have casual sex in the bathroom of a club and it not mean as much. So don't do that to us. Like don't.
So
It,
flag on the play. This is what I'm gonna
How
say.
many flags? Only one?
Flag. It's multiple flags. If we had
cool.
the little red flag, little symbol that you see on all the social medias, these are red flags.
We're gonna have to edit this out. Can I change my answer?
No, you cannot.
You're not gonna let me do it.
No, you cannot.
I want to go back, bro.
No,
I want to go back.
You said what you said.
Don't cheat.
Bullshit. You said what you said, and that's cool. But what my response is going to be, don't you think that women love sex just as much as y'all do? If I can keep my vagina in my
penis, you're different. No, you're a unicorn on the sex tip, bro. Keep it 100. You cannot speak for most women's sexual libido because you don't. You don't.
First of all, Mike, don't be telling all my business.
Exactly. But don't sit here and pump fake in front of these people because we're not gonna do that. If your co-host would have had this, I wouldn't have said shit because I don't know her. But I know Alicia Reese. So you don't get to play that card, my nigga. Nope.
And y'all, for those who are listening, no, Mike and I have never dated, been intimate. We have worked together and we are good friends. So we tell each other the whole truth and nothing but the truth, even when it makes us uncomfortable. So what Mike is referring to, of course, now I gotta preface. I am a free being when it comes to sex, right? I think that women should enjoy it. We should explore more. It allows us to work better. It, is a stress reliever. It allows for a lot of things, especially when done responsibly. But my thing is even with all of my freedom when it comes to sex, I still have a very disciplined vagina, right? It is still absolutely very disciplined. And so in being disciplined, Mike, I feel as though that, yes, it is important for us to acknowledge all of the things that happen. In that, true, there are, especially for some partners, where your sexual libido, they are like ships passing in the night. They simply don't align. But that's where you honestly have to get very, very real with your partner and decide what type of relationship works for the both of you. Because it's only cheating if you feel you have to lie to me, if you feel you have to be secretive about it, or if you feel you can't be honest. It's only cheating if you can't be honest with me about what is happening, what is going on. If you got to sneak and do it, then my dude, you are lying. That is cheating. The very definition of it is as if you can't keep it a buck. If you know that my sexual libido is up here and yours is down here, when do we have the conversation around what is going to be effective for our type of relationship? Like, what does that conversation look like? What does it look like to, and I don't necessarily think that, bringing, back or having more people in church makes a difference, because in my experience, church is not where truth is always had. Like, it's, this one person for the rest of your life. And, if he's not doing it or if she's not doing it, no, you just stay unhappy and in a relationship that, is causing you stress or strain. So what happens, right, when we start to tell each other the truth? Hey, babe, our libidos are different. What do we do from here?
And I wanted to kind of go back, because you say a lot of great things, Mike, but there are some things I just want to dissect out of, because there's just a lot of great material. You were saying something about how the brain of a man and the heart and the penis works differently from the brain and heart and vagina of a woman, where you guys can maybe step out and do something and it means nothing to you. And it doesn't have the same gravity that it may have if something that we do in our own right. But I think that's also maybe a myth about women, that every time that we have sex, there's this deep movement that happens within us that makes us feel this deep connection, which is not necessarily true. I want to say that really quickly. I just want to say that in the past, in my younger pre-engaged motherhood days, that I want to say that I have cheated on the majority of my partners, and I have. And I'm not going to always, and just to kind of clarify, I don't believe that cheating is only sexual. Like, I don't believe only penetration is something that makes cheating, but I have definitely cheated, like I said, on just about every partner that I've had, except for maybe one or two.
Are you poly and don't know it?
I'm not poly. I definitely love.
It's a valid question, though.
It is a valid question, but I'm not. I have considered it in the past, but I'm not. It doesn't work for me at this stage in my life. I'm talking about a very different version of myself. But I just wanted to kind of clarify and just kind of say that is, I believe, and I'm not. And you were saying, oh, maybe that's just how Alicia is or whatever. But like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we have very diverse friend circles, both you and I, Alicia. And there are so many women that are very misunderstood in that arena, especially when it comes to sex. And there are way more women having way more casual sex than anybody wants to talk about because of how society makes us feel around having, because who are these men having this casual sex with if they're heterosexual men, right? So. Exactly. So, you know, I definitely don't think that all men cheat, just to kind of say my say on that myth. And I do want to say that a lot more women cheat than anybody wants to talk about.
Oh, cheers to that.
Yeah, I must say I do agree. So I've only cheated on, I want to say, one or two men I've seriously dated, because I am a relationship girl. I like to, again, I am Bobette the builder. How we building together, what we erecting, like, and I don't mean.
I'm a relationship girl too. I just used to get distracted, but I just had a focus problem. I like relationships too, but you know, I like new energy as well, and I just got distracted sometimes.
And that's okay. But I do believe that we all need to have some discipline. Like, it shouldn't be that every single time you see a hard dick that you feel it's your responsibility to make it lay down. And every time a man sees, you know, a piece of wet vagina, that is his responsibility.
We're going to the woods now.
To help dry it up. Well, I mean, no, but we're being honest. Like, don't worry, we'll put the E on this episode for explicit. This is not for 18 and under. This is for grown adults who can consent.
I mean, you know, here's my thing. And I hate to shamelessly plug one of my works of art, but I think it really speaks to the moment. So I wrote this book called The Boyfriend Book. And I feel like a lot of the miscommunications, a lot of the deceit, betrayal, a lot of the shortcomings that we experience pre-marriage in these, frivolous relationships, let's call them, is because we enter into these premarital bonds that are so much like marriage that they were forced to take on these marriage-esque roles like fidelity and honesty and positive communication, and people's desire for the possession and ownership that they don't have in any other facet of life always seems to present itself more so in relationships, to where we don't even get a chance to experience ourselves, our own individuality, our own sexuality, because we're always pressed to be in these relationships, let's call them, right? So we don't even get a chance to experience ourselves fully, naturally, without somebody wanting to own us. And then because we want we want to be owned, we enter into these pre-relationships, before relationships, and we fall short, and our partners fall short. So not only do we fail in relationships, but we also are less excited about marriage because they're so similar to marriage and before marriage, that now we're in this space where it's like it's rare that people have these countless micro marriages to only project on to a real marriage in success. So the introduction of boyfriend, statistically speaking, because I've done the research in my book, The Boyfriend Book, the rise in the term of boyfriend and its uses as it pertains to premarital relationships directly coincides with the reduction in marriage. Whereas previously, historically, there was only one sort of union you would have with a strange woman. You would only have one set of intentions, and that is to take this woman from her father with his permission and her household, and to set up a household with her. But now that the lines have changed and things are blurred, that's not the energy, that's not the attitude, that's not the movement. So no more boyfriends, because we eliminate everything but what is truly meant to be, which is the bond between two humans. Now, if it's not masked behind the veil of integrity, even of exclusivity, of reciprocity, all of these things that are self-serving and really don't solve the issue of why people aren't getting married. So if you eliminate boyfriend, you give people the freedom to choose, whether it be to choose to still be committed to you or the freedom to do what they want to do. You know, because a lot of times women miss their whole phase because they got a boyfriend in high school, a boyfriend in college, then that after college co-worker, neighborhood, you know, city boyfriend. It's like, you know, and then it's like, fuck, man, I'm either burnt out or I've been in so many failed situations that I don't even want marriage anymore. Marriage might not be for me. Whereas if I was free this whole time and I knew myself, I loved myself, I had my fun, then yeah, I'd be better. You might be ready.
Yeah, I love what you
You gotta
said.
Google it.
No more boyfriends. I do agree with that. In that I only believe in being monogamous to a person or a partner who I am engaged to marry or I am married to, if we decide together that a monogamous relationship is what we want to have. I do not believe in giving boyfriends monogamy. I don't believe in it. Because if I'm with you, let's say 3 to 5 years, and I've been with you and I've been monogamous only to you during these 3 to 5 years, you have to understand as a woman, just as a biological female woman, there is a finite time frame that you can bear children if that is what you want to do. So if I'm committing to you monogamously 3 to 5 years of my top, healthiest, years
that was a chapter in the book.
Listen, that I can reasonably bring forth life without having the issues that come when you have children when you're older. Why in the fuck would I give that to you when you haven't even given me the guarantee that we in this thing for at least a portion of our lives? Why would I give you monogamy? Sorry,
Holy
not
shit.
sorry. It's a no for me, fam.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what I think is fucked up? Where a woman could piss and shit away her whole entire 20s, early 30s even, and then dating a early to mid 30-year-old woman who apparently just so happens to have this revelation now that she has eggs that don't actually, continue to create. Now we in this motherfucking assembly line of intentions that last about 6 months. It's like, get the fuck out of here. You let Rafiq bum ass play with your whole 20s, my nigga, and you chasing this nigga up and down the Hudson. And now, because you realize that you got eggs and they about to not be hatching no more, and you going through these premenopausal hot flashing moves and attitudes and shit, now, after 3 dates, you want a nigga's intentions. Fuck no. That's the difficulty I'm experiencing with being a 36-year-old Black man trying to date women my age, is that every relationship is microwaved because of menstruation. And that's not my fault, my nigga. So if you come to this realization that you have eggs and that they need to be fertilized soon, you need to do the internal work years prior to that and go into that mindset sooner, because you can't meet me with without eggs in the freezer and expect me to rush my process was getting to know you, love you, court you. It's like, that's one of the worst things ever. Unless it's just like The Notebook or motherfucking Bridges in Madison County or Brown Sugar for all of my Afrocentric folks, right? Unless it's one of them, well, maybe not Brown Sugar because they was on bullshit, right? But you see how most Black love, like you said, is on bullshit. But the fact remains is like, yo, I would be very, very disappointed in my love journey if I meet, date, flirt, fuck, engage, marry, and have a child with a woman within the first 18 months of our union. When realistically, when you deal with women of a certain age, that's sort of the expectation. But is that fair to the man that just got here?
And again, that is
this is going to be a series. This is going to be a series.
It has to be because we're already about to be like an hour in, and there's just so many more questions that I have.
I mean, it's only because you're new. You're so enamored by me because you haven't met me anymore. Shout out to Mike. I got myself in the
yeah, shout out to you. Yes, I'm definitely very impressed. So I definitely
want to get married.
Have so many. We have so many questions, Alicia. I don't know what to do. We have so many more questions.
I think we're just gonna have to do a part 1 and a part 2 for this.
Yeah, because this is just too much. Because we've only gotten through literally like 3 more questions.
3 of like
more.
There were lots more.
There are a lot more questions.
All right, so let's just end it with this next question, and then for everybody watching and listening, they can ask follow-up questions on the previous 3 questions that we asked, and we can revisit them at the beginning of the episode 2, and then try to finish after. Not trying to tell y'all how to run y'all show though.
I was gonna say, did you want to just like? If
y'all need a co-host, man, I like this energy here. Next stop, World Star.
Oh, God. But you did say something that was very real, though, which is something that I really wish was a conversation. In that Black women freeze your eggs. My white girlfriend,
there's this one girl, and she was ready to slap the shit out of me when I asked her that. Like I just called her something besides a child of God. I'm like, yo, I mean, maybe I said it kind of off the cuff, and I should have been more Harvard and less Howard. But I'm like, yo,
you don't know how to ease in the freezer. You don't ease in the Mike.
It's like sometimes people only meet part of me, right? Okay. So when they hear me speak in a different tone or in a different temperament, it's like, oh, who the fuck is this nigga? And then some people are also sensitive and triggered, so the last thing you want to tell a woman who is experiencing those premenopause symptoms, but is also trying to find love and relationship in the future with me, the last thing she wants me to say is, yo, you should probably throw some eggs in the freezer or something. I should have probably articulated it better, right? But that's where if a relationship that was built on a friendship as 2 humans, vice this romantic feel. Because anytime, what I've learned is that anytime you build a relationship with too much romance and not enough friendship, you get these moments of angst, right? When you say things kind of off the cuff or jokingly, because it taints that romantic bubble that they were living in. And I kind of busted her romantic bubble when I didn't say, you know what, baby, I'm going to not pull out on you right now, and we're going to make this baby. When I said, nah, maybe we should throw some eggs in the freezer or something. But that's honestly how I felt. It's like, 6 months after us dating, she was like, well, what is your plan for us? And what is our future looking like? Like, what are your intentions? And I'm like, well, my intentions is just to keep doing what we've been doing at this juncture. But she's like, I'm 35 and mama's eggs is like, I said, well, shit, maybe you should throw mama's eggs in the freezer. And then she hung up on the nigga, right? And then, we had a conversation. It was just about, and I said, hey, I understand that you have a biological clock, and I respect that, because I don't want to disturb a woman who I'm not ready for, or who's not ready for me, right? But at the same time, I just, I had my idea of what I wanted love to look like before I met you, and you gave me an issue that might affect what I thought my plan for love was going to be. I only have 2 rules, right? I equate romantic love, as a clean white T-shirt, and Disappointment, infidelity are like red Kool-Aid, right? And I always wanted a love that did not put red Kool-Aid on my white t-shirt, right? Meaning I did not want a love that was based on forgiveness. Now, it might be to my detriment, but every woman who put me in the position where I had to forgive them ultimately left because I don't want my love story to be me forgiving you for fucking me over. You know, I don't want that. Maybe that's my own fault, but that's my love journey. And then the only other thing that I asked for was that I did not have to rush my process, right? Any part of it, the friendship, the dating, the courting, the engagement. It's like, can we enjoy these seasons as they come, or are we going to microwave it because we want instant gratification? You know, because we'll miss out on all the beauty of the steps, of the friendship, of the courting, of the engagement. Like, the engagement is a season of the celebration of the love that we're about to have. We miss that. We miss our marriage in a sense where we can just enjoy life as two individuals before we introduce a child into it, you know? So granted, me at 36, about to be 37, I have my own, you know, issues with my own timeline, but not as bad as a woman in her mid-30s and her menopause ones, you know?
Yeah. And you know, I've never really heard someone, because I always say that I don't want to love based on forgiveness. So this is my first time actually hearing somebody else say that. So that's really interesting, because I think so many of us
was your heart broken too?
Has my heart been broken? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But for me, it was just this idea that we have to, like, Alicia, we talked about this before, like, where it's like, oh, you got to be a ride or die. And, you know, you have to just, you know, deal with it. And grandma, you know, she had to stick it out. And this idea around love being this painful, hard, hurtful thing. You know, and I just would always look at that and be like, but why does it have to be like that? Like, life is going to put us through enough shit. Life is going to take care of all the challenges and the hurdles. Why do we need to also put and do things to each other to make things? That's not what that means, you know, through thick and thin, through sickness and health. That's not what that means. Life is going to do all those things, and you guys are supposed to stick through it together. I'm not a proponent of, oh, we have to forgive and move through it and do all these fucked up things to each other. And that is a definition of love. Like, that's how we prove our love to each other, by how often we can hurt each other and forgive each other and move through it. Like, that doesn't work for me. So it was very refreshing to hear a man say, like, I don't want this love that's based on having to forgive and having to, oh, you know, let me just look past that. Like, that's just, no, that doesn't.
Yeah.
That's not it. So I'm happy to hear somebody say that other than myself.
Listen, and here's the thing. This part one of this conversation has been so freaking dope. Like, this might have to be a 3-part extraterrestrial type of. Hold on, I gotta repeat it because it started to reverberate. Hold on, so let's pause. 5 seconds. Listen, this may have to be a 1, 2, and 3-part conversation, because Danny, I already know you agree. Like, we're not even halfway through the questions, number one, and we're already at almost an hour in. That's just number one. Number two, this conversation has been so good in that we've been able to have an dialogue, not always agreeing, okay, and that's all right. But I do think, like, these types of conversations are super important. And Mike, you said before, y'all send us DMs. Where should they send all the DMs? Because we need to know so that we can even answer these questions on maybe like part 2. So it's not just me and Danny's questions, it's yours too.
Send all the positive questions to my DM at Just Mike the Poet on Instagram, or Mike at justmikethepoet.com. If you have anything negative or hateful to say, you can send it to Alicia Reese, please. She is my filter for negativity.
Don't send it to me. Send it to TriggeredAF PC. All of the, like, WTF, what kind of conversation is this? Or even you're like super like, hey, that was a really good way to think of it. You know, send those to TriggeredAF PC, because we want to hear from y'all, because this conversation was so good. So this is definitely part 1.
Me, please. Y'all, please don't cancel me.
No, you didn't say anything to be canceled, and I don't like the cancel culture.
You better listen again.
No, I don't like cancel culture. It is absolutely okay for someone to think and feel differently and it not be an attack on who I am as a person. That's bullshit. I do not like people, oh, I'm canceling him because he said something I didn't like. Grow the fuck up. People are going to always say things that you don't like. Build a bridge and get over it. It doesn't mean I have to dislike you or hate you because you see or view something differently. Differences is what make us all shine. Like, so sensitive.
Jesus said no sex before marriage, and y'all did not cancel him.
Exactly, and I don't even agree with that.
I do. If I could do it all over again, I would be a virgin.
No, thank you. I do not agree with that. Jesus said no sex before marriage. I think it was actually God, but whoever, potato.
Same thing. It's a Trinity.
But I don't agree with that. That's not something that I'm willing to do. It's not something I'm teaching any child who come out of my
So have you canceled
well, that's
Jesus?
Fine. That's fine. I don't.
You know something that I actually, if I could do it again, I don't know if I would have waited for marriage, but I would have waited longer, for sure. Like, I think that I lost my virginity when I was like 17 or something like that, which is actually
you waited long as fuck.
For a lot of people, right? But I would have waited even longer because I don't think that I understood sexuality for me, like just what I wanted. I didn't masturbate enough, I think, in my teens.
I hate masturbation. I think that's the same.
No. Well, I don't. But I think that in my early 20s, I definitely masturbated when I was like a teenager. But I mean, like in my early 20s, I think that I just understood how my body worked in a way that I would have enjoyed sex a lot more if I just waited a little bit longer to understand who I was as a woman more, especially sexually, before I decided to invite somebody else to explore that with me. Just saying, just throwing that out there in case anyone cares.
Nah. Here's my thing. One, a lot of times when we become advanced in life, we automatically have this new version of ourselves that wish the old version of ourselves would have done things different when we thought we were doing things exactly the way we wanted to at the time. So if your current self in that time was pleased, then just show up for her now and be like, she did what she wanted, and that's all that really matters. Now, of course, there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of lottery tickets, a lot of bets on football games that I would have made had I known, of course. So it's really, I mean, not for you specifically, but just for everybody listening. A lot of times we regret our old selves because we have new enlightenment or new experiences or new life, and then that causes like an interpersonal beef between old self and new self, which could spiral us down into man, I've never gotten this shit right, when it's not. No, you've had it right this whole time, but right for you has changed. Now, about masturbation, I believe that self-pleasure really removes the beauty of sex with a man. I think that you would have sex with your partner more because he's the only way for you to reach those climaxes. Because
lies.
I mean, no, hell no. Like, I swear to God.
No.
Now, of course, this is only my belief, and it's belief from experience with women, right? The women,
listen,
the women who masturbate the least have sex with me the most, because there's only one way to achieve sexual pleasure.
That is a lie.
Women who masturbate the most have the lowest sex drive. It's like, yo, no. Now, we do got the freaks. Now, I don't mean it in a derogatory way, so please don't cancel me for that. I love a good freak. But there are women who can please themselves and please you. And pleasing themselves is like an appetizer. But we're not talking about the Reese's of the world, okay? We're not talking about y'all because y'all are unicorns and y'all should be ridden as such. Or I'm not even gonna go there, right? But I probably had more sex with women than anybody in this room. I do say probably, but anybody in this podcast group of hosts, right? So I'm saying, like, I've within my countless experiences with sex with women, all the statistical data proves this statement about how for your average woman, self-pleasure reduces desire, especially in relationships. Like if you have a constant partner, you cannot have a constant partner and constantly masturbate. I do not believe it.
Now, Mike,
you were doing really well. I'm still doing well. Fine.
You were doing really well. I was with you. I was riding with you. We was in the boat. We was going. I was with you right up until now. Look, hold on. Flag on the play. Several flags on the play, because that is just not true. You know, first of all, women wouldn't get any pleasure. What about that statistic? Most women wouldn't get any pleasure at all if they didn't masturbate, because most women don't experience pleasure from having sex with heterosexual men.
That's your fault, though.
But you want to know why? Because we weren't taught that masturbation at a young age is important to developing our sexuality in the way that men and boys are taught to masturbate. Yes, they are, because men explore themselves. It's okay for you to, there's movies where the mom is knocking on the boy's door and it's clear and it's insinuated that he's masturbating. It's that normal in our culture for teenage boys to masturbate, where you never see a movie that promotes female masturbation and teenage girl masturbation. We don't understand our bodies in the way that you guys do, and that's because of lack of masturbation.
False as fuck.
No. So I'm gonna tell you.
Danny, so I don't get the echo. Nah, fuck no. Let me respond. First of all,
because you already responded.
Ain't no, Mike.
No, because I'm a woman.
Respond to that. I didn't. I know, but you're not this time. Not this episode right now, because yes, you are a woman. But you're speaking from Alicia Reese, which is not classic woman. You have no dog in this fight, and you know it. You're just playing devil's advocate right now. I'm not going to let you do it. What I'm going to say is that I don't. We got to stop. We got to stop. Well, maybe I'm not the one to say it, right? We have to stop leveraging patriarchy, which is the fucking worst thing that ever happened to us humans, right? We have to stop leveraging that with women's desire for patriarchy, which is like, well, men have been doing this and women have been lacking because we haven't been, a space has not been made for us to do all of this weird shit that came with patriarchy. So it's like, it's like the battle of the patriarchs, right? When the truth is one, this vagina that you have is not for self-pleasure as much as it is for procreation. Yes or no? It is the pathway to procreation before it is
absolutely not
a self-gratification. It's not a self-gratification organ. It is not.
Listen,
as much as you want to believe as that vagina and that clitoris was gifted to you by God for self-pleasure, that is not the case. Now, if you want to manipulate
lies
to mean that, that's real shit. Now, what we've done is we take what God has blessed us with and kind of perverted it to our own selfishness, but that is just classic human selfishness turned sexual. I 100% believe it.
I call bullshit.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. I swear to God, man.
That's the patriarchy telling me that I don't agree.
They come 8 to 14 minutes longer it takes. If the only way that your vagina would get wet and your clit would get hard and you would come and orgasm was behind the touch of a man, then you would be more in tune with sex. Y'all would like sex more. What do you mean? Now it's like, if women did not masturbate, we would not achieve
it's enough for me, dog.
That's the weirdest shit ever, dog. No.
Let me. Can I now tell you?
No, I'm not done. I'm on a rant right now.
No, I have a vagina and you don't.
Sway. Nah, but I have experienced more vaginas than you have.
But I have also had a lot more sex with men than you have. I have had a lot more sex with men than you ever have.
Okay, well, listen. Let me finish.
Exactly.
Okay, let me finish. So
hurry up and finish so I can rebut you.
Nah, I don't hurry up and finish. See, that's another problem with women. Y'all want these niggas to hurry up and finish because y'all masturbated already. Fuck no. That's the same way that industrialization movement catapulted women into independence. So did masturbation into this sexual independence. And you want to you don't want to agree with me, but it's the same teacher, different classroom. Same teacher, different classroom. So I'm going to drop his sex ed class, but I'm going to keep his relationship class. Fuck no, that's not fair. Same teacher. So,
is you finished or is you done?
I'm burnt out now.
Okay, great.
We're going to finish this episode too.
No, before we finish this, I'm going to tag me and Danny, and then I'm going to tag you in. Okay. So here's the thing, right? Most men, and this is again, because I have had sex with a lot more men, okay, than you have. Most men couldn't find your vagina in the daytime with a flashlight. The statistics on how many heterosexual women are pleasured by heterosexual men are daunting. They are daunting. And Danny, when I flag her in, she gonna give us the statistics. There was a guy on TikTok who said, real talk, ladies, what does sex feel like? Do you want to know what some of the responses were? Some of the comments, because it went viral, because people were alarmed at how unsatisfied women are. Some of the responses were like you're about to sneeze and it never happens. Do you know how frustrating it is to be about to sneeze and you never sneeze? Some of the other responses were like it's an acting career that you win actual awards from. You know, kind of like when you switch to the other side of the pillow, but it's warm. Listen, this is a you thing. You may be great at sexually pleasing women, but most men, because I have had sex and I have, not to tell my business, but I have been having sex with men. I lost my virginity at 16. So I have been enjoying the freedom of sex with men for a very long time. I am also bisexual at least twice a year. So I have also had sex with women. What I can tell you for sure is that sex with women has been gratifying every single time, whereas sex with men is hit or miss. I may not, and depending on how I feel, I may become a whole actress because I don't feel like you continuing to treat me like a construction site, just drilling into me because it's something that you saw on a porno and thought that women who weren't getting paid to sleep with you actually liked it. Most men are not good at sex with women because they learned how to fuck from porns that could care less about how it
maybe I'm a unicorn.
The woman. This is you who is good at sex with women, but most men, I can tell you from experience and from conversations with my girls, most men are not great at it. They suck.
But that's your fault. Remember when we started the show and remember when we started the show and we fucking lit a candle under the women who are in these year-long relationships with men and they realize that they can't communicate, right? And how you agreed that the onus was kind of on the woman because how did you end up in this spot with this human, right? Same goes for the sex. I have no pity for a woman who despises the sex that she has with her fucking partner. It's like, what kind of woman are you? What is the value of your womanhood if your nigga cannot communicate with you or fuck you good?
But you also won't realize what works for your vagina until you've played with it. It's there for you to play with. It is yours. No.
That's not how that works because I know plenty of women who do not masturbate and still don't enjoy sex. So I don't think masturbation is the common denominator here. Like it has nothing to do with masturbation, whether or not a woman is going to enjoy it more. Masturbation has been proven to help men masturbate on average. A lot more than women do. And I think there has to be some correlation with the amount of masturbation that men have and have been permitted to do compared to what women have and how much more they tend to orgasm through sex. Only about 20 to 30% of women orgasm from sex on a regular basis with a heterosexual man. That is compared to 70 to 80% of men orgasming every time they have sex with a heterosexual woman.
two questions. One, is it true? Is it true that an orgasm is more mental than physical? Is that true? Is an orgasm more mental than physical?
It's both.
Is it more? So it's a 50-50 split between physical and mental.
For women, I do think it is. I definitely think it's a little bit more mental, but you can help our mental by taking care of our physical properly, and y'all don't even do that.
Okay. So if it's your physical that I need to take care of properly, is there a handbook, a guide, a tutorial, a walkthrough, a fucking PDF that any man who ever gets the opportunity to please you, does he have a reference track?
I can give him a reference track if I masturbate enough and learn my body so that I can provide him a PDF. That's actually how that works. So I can create a reference track for you if you allow me the time and energy.
I'm never coming back here because y'all are dysfunctional. Y'all don't even know yourselves for real. There is no way. So you're telling me, your statement says, you're saying that in order, I need to please myself more to make this man please me more?
Just like you have to teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. It's the same idea.
Fuck no, don't use that.
You have to do it first. I have to pamper myself first. I have to love me first, and then I can teach and show other people how to love me. It's the same thing with masturbation. Let me figure it out for me so that when you down there licking on something, I can be like, oh, no, to the left. Oh, no, to the right. Ooh, let me have a little bit more pressure. I like it when you do it like that because I know what I like now. And you can only figure that out on your own. You cannot, women are doing themselves a great disservice by not masturbating because let me tell you, men are masturbating and they're figuring out and that's how they know exactly what they like. And they coming all the time, y'all. They coming all the time. It's not fair.
I challenge both of you as well as everybody listening to this long as fuck podcast to ask yourself, is this my ego? The same high value sense of self that has women unwilling to compromise with certain things, does it also matriculate into the bedroom where she pleases herself so thoroughly as an individual, it definitely has an unfortunate effect with her being pleased. Because a woman can masturbate and achieve gratification in mere minutes, right? Because it's self-pleasure. It does not take much but self. And I love myself. I'm in touch with myself to a T. So of course, but now, if I can come myself in 6 minutes and a nigga, it takes me 18, of course I'm going to enjoy coming myself more because it's more of an instant gratification. It all makes sense.
That's not true. That's like saying, no. You want to know how that's not true? That's like saying that you enjoy fast food more simply because you can get it fast as opposed to a home cooked meal. I can still understand the value of fast food and when I may need a quick fix and when I may just need something, I'm super hungry, I'm on the road and I need to get something to eat, I'll grab fast food. But there's nothing like a home cooked meal. So that's not true. That's not the
analogy.
That is a great analogy.
I will counter that by saying, I don't want my man to make macaroni and cheese because I make my own and it's fire. We can't equate it between fast food and a home cooked meal. We can equate it to the man cooking for you and me cooking for myself.
But that's still not true because even if a man cooks something for me that doesn't taste as good as maybe I like it, I still appreciate it and I still want it. I don't want you to not cook for me now. In your kind of example of saying that women who masturbate a lot don't want to have sex as much, that's not true. Just because I masturbate doesn't mean I don't want to have sex. Just because I cook mac and cheese better than you doesn't mean I don't want your mac and cheese. I want it because it's yours, because you did it. It's very different. It's not this. That's not
then
true.
Well, if your logic is the same, then you should come just the same. You should find just as much pleasure in it.
No, because y'all don't know what to do. I'm done.
Now we're going back to the communication. No matter which way we take this thing, ultimately it's your fault. But people's inability to take accountability as it equates to the reduction in ego, people will just not do that.
I agree with that.
That I'm right.
I agree with that part. I do think that women do have to take more accountability in the bedroom, for sure. Absolutely. But how we do that and how we learn ourselves to be able to take that accountability so that we can own our sexuality is through masturbation.
No,
and on that
masturbation
note,
is not.
masturbation is the key. You want to know when I started having good sex? Because the first year I had sex was trash. I started having good sex when I had a man who asked me to masturbate so that I can show him properly what I like. And mind you, this man was younger than I was, but he was also a hell of a lot more experienced. But he was younger than I was. And he said, I want to make sure that I'm actually pleasuring you, but it's going to be super difficult for you to tell me what you like unless I'm fumbling around until I figure it out. And I just so happen to do the right thing, or you can play with yourself and then you can tell me what you like so that I can get you to come much quicker, because the same way my fingers work, I can teach him how to do those same things with his fingers, but I can't teach you something I do not know. That's like trying to go to somebody to teach you to swim when they have not swam themselves. In theory, it sounds good because they're like, oh, you just get into the water, you just float a little bit, you start kicking your feet while you're holding on to the edge, and then you let go, and then you start to move your hands too. It sounds great in theory, but most men, they are focused on their own sexual pleasure. Also, too, because their dick is not disciplined, so they can't last very long because they have no discipline, number one. And then number two, on the woman, how can she tell? You are different, Mike. And number two, on the woman, how can she tell you what she likes unless y'all are either willing to fumble and figure it out together, or she explores herself to learn what she likes, and then she can
If God wanted you to explore, he'd have gave you a dick too.
No. So no, you sounding like them African men.
Hold on, but isn't a clitoris? But hold on. But aren't penises? What is it? Isn't it that a penis is a vagina turned inside out?
Yeah.
So didn't he?
I meant that. I meant that in this way. The exploration should not be done alone, because when you start if you start exploring alone and achieving the fruits of exploration alone, then you will be more inclined to go on further exploring alone. If you, I'm not going to call limit yourself, because nobody likes limits, right? If you understand that sex in its most beautiful form involves two people, you would only go on that sexual exploration with another person, and you will achieve the same gratification, but also with a partner. And if you and your partner go exploring only explore together, then y'all will both achieve gratification together. We're not gonna, we'll never agree as long as we make sex a selfish thing, because we all love ourselves and we're all perfect to ourselves. So of course, all the pleasure will come from self. But if we stop being so selfish, our communication will grow, our sexual experiences with partners will grow, and we'll grow as a loving member of society, not a self-serving member within a society.
Listen, I'm like Cardi B. I'm gonna come with me, and I'm gonna come with him. And if we so decide, I'm gonna come.
Cardi B was a plant. Cardi B was a plant to further separate Black love, especially with situations like that. For sure.
Listen,
that's not the way.
I'm talking about the one line in the song.
Not the way. Anytime that you want to masturbate, you should call your partner and y'all should go exploring together. The more sexually developed you become as an individual, the more hard pressed you'll find somebody to please you, because can't nobody love you like yourself. And that's terrible. Save the sex. No more masturbation. That's my new one. No more boyfriends. No more busing alone.
Well, listen, I'm going to keep masturbating, and I'm also going to keep fucking those who I decide I'm going to fuck. And that's just what that's going to be. And that's just that on that. And on that note, listen, I definitely want to hear y'all questions from this one, because he was doing real good to this end part. But that's okay, because again, he hasn't slept with men. As women, we usually have, for those of us who are heterosexual. And for those of you who are bi or who are lesbian and you've had lots of sex with women, I know it's been pleasurable for you, because I've walked down that same road as you, sis. And I appreciate the fact that you have enjoyed yourself so much. So we got to have a part 2. You said you weren't coming back, but that's a lie. You got to come back because we got to have a part 2. We got to answer all the questions from the people. So y'all stay connected. Just Mike already gave y'all where to stay connected. Danny, where can we stay connected with you? We want to make sure we stay connected with you as well.
You stay connected with me at Danny Foster Coaching on Instagram, Danny Foster on Facebook, and DannyFosterCoaching.com. I still think Mike should say it again, though, just in case anybody missed it, where we can stay connected with him.
Go right ahead, Mike.
My phone number is 267-291.
We're not giving your phone number out. On social media, where can we stay connected?
Everything, Just Mike the Poet. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, website, everything is Just Mike the Poet. I'm a poet.
And you can stay connected with me everywhere at Alicia Reese, literally on all the platforms. And make sure you're following TriggeredAF. Again, send us those DMs to TriggeredAF PC. I know this was long as fuck. I promise y'all, hopefully, the next one won't be as long, but this was good. So thank you so much for everyone joining us, and we will see you next time. Until then, we out.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Triggered AF. Remember, don't be consumed by your triggers. Confront it and then work to release it. Whether you leave us more triggered than you came or you're feeling like you've been open to a new perspective, our hope is that you've grown. Make sure to share this episode with a friend who's trigger happy and tag us while you're listening. We can't wait to hear from you. Until next week, pull it together, girl.